Okay. Say sorry, again. Hey, hi, welcome back to the Puckish podcast. That's Puckish. Get it? Okay.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, in any case, right? Yeah. In any case, if you don't know what puckish means, it means childish, it means childlike, playful, and funny.
Mischievous.
And mischievous, thanks.
Maybe not so
dictionary.
childlike. We're trying to be less childlike over the years.
Yeah, okay.
Who's the most
that's why
man-child,
we
Nigel?
created this podcast. We are basically approaching our 30s and we still don't know much about the world. So that's why we created this podcast to find out more about the world and find out more about each other and try to improve ourselves through conversations and
And
we'll
maybe
of
we
course
also we
invite
want to bring the audience along on that.
that
that
our
journey.
discovery as we crawl and run and walk through our journey. So for today's episode, we are going to talk about Army Daze, the very epic, the very the first army movie that you can think about when you think about the Singapore Army experience. But before that, just to recap, last week we actually had this Jialat June challenge as coined by Vin. Oh yeah, wait, I forgot to introduce everyone. So we have Vinod, aka Vin Decent.
Hello.
YJ, Yue Chun, aka June Night Fury.
What's up?
We have Amirul, aka Kickman,
Yo.
and our resident expert Brett. Yeah. So just to recap, last week we actually had this Jialat June challenge where we had set a crazy fitness goal for each other. So just to recap, why don't YJ you start with what was your fitness challenge?
So I decided to do something in June over the 30 days, which consisted of running 10 km every day for 30 days. So it accumulated to 300 km. And also after a run or before, whichever it is, you should do like 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 sit-ups. Yeah, so that was basically a challenge. It's actually the One Punch Man challenge. So it's made famous by the manga One Punch Man. That's how he trained to be the best hero in the universe. And yeah, so I kind of like egged everyone on to try this out also. And everyone is doing it at a certain at different levels, I guess. And I chose to do the level 10, which is 10 km every day. I think Vin is doing 4 km every day.
Yes. I'm doing the level 10 for the statics, but I'm doing the level 4 for the running. So my target is 120 km this month, and I've done it for the past 6 days. I haven't done it today yet, and yesterday was my toughest run so far.
Wait till today.
Yeah, my legs were like really aching, and my legs are still aching today. So I'm like trying to think about my tactics moving forward. Should I go for a slow 6k run today and then like have a break tomorrow or something, or try to figure out what's the best way to not kill myself today 1 week into the exercise. Yeah. And Amirul, you had an interesting experience this week.
It was way too painful for me, man. I'd rather get headaches from
Hangovers.
doing handstands or something, but I injured myself in the worst way possible, and so I was concussed. Luckily
your
for me, I
bedroom.
didn't have to wear the helmet. Shut up, yeah. But I had Secret Lab to thank to brace my fall.
So did Secret Lab help cushion the fall, or did it cause the...
Okay, why don't you tell us like how it happened? Step
Recreate.
what you were doing.
I'm not going
You
to
can show us
recreate
if you
it.
want. So
No, there's no demonstrations right now because I have been advised to not be moving so aggressively or like too intensely, right? So okay, I'll just narrate what happened. Okay, so I was just doing my work, minding my own business, and I have a tendency to just sit like this. I don't know what about you guys are, but I always sit like this. Like
so
That's
your
so fucking
legs,
stupid.
your legs on the chair.
yeah,
Basically
okay, so-
squatting on the chair.
Yeah, and I have like I would just do this all the time. I like to move back and forth, and yeah, somehow like, I kind of like I don't know cross too much force and I just flipped backwards, and I landed like back, head first back, yeah. And my neck was sore for it has been sore for like 3 days now.
So your head hit the ground.
Yeah, and no, so yeah, my pillow cushioned the fall, my headboard cushioned the fall also.
Shout out
So
Secret
imagine-
Lab.
Yeah, shout out.
Please
So imagine
sponsor
if
all
I
of
had
us.
no protection, man. I think I would have been severely injured.
So when did that happen?
Wednesday evening, I think.
Ay.
It
So
sounds
when
like
are you planning to come and do exercise after this?
I tried walking yesterday, and even walking after 2 km made me have really bad headaches, so I just stopped.
Yeah, I think you should just
Should
take
chill.
it
Maybe
easy.
Nigel can just take over your mileage.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I heard that it's transferable, right? Like every
Yeah,
group
yeah,
has
definitely.
Collective, right?
system. Yeah.
Let me just say,
Yeah,
right,
Nigel.
I've really not done the 100 challenge for 2 days in the week. That's when
Why?
I didn't do my run.
So you haven't ran for
So
2
I'm-
days?
No, yeah, I haven't ran for 2 days. No, I didn't run on Wednesday and I didn't run on Friday.
So you had a 2-day break.
Yeah, I had a 2-day break.
Right.
But my challenge is not as severe as you guys. I only need to run 80 km, right? I think 80 km by the end of the month. So I think I'm just employing a different tactic, not running every day, just pushing all out
So
for some
so what's your
days.
tactic?
Yeah, so so like yesterday I ran 6 km. Today maybe I don't need to run, So as long as I cover at least 15 to 20 km a week, I should be hitting my goals.
So what about
What's
static
your
then?
targets?
What are the rules on static? Are we supposed to do static regardless of whether we run or not?
Yeah, that's why it was so unclear, right? I decided to not do the static and create my own rules for it.
Nigel, why didn't you consult the judge or for that?
Yeah, why you
Just
never-
you know.
You changed the
Oh,
competition and you didn't even like consult anyone. You just made up your own rules.
I
Yeah.
lie, I cheat, and I steal. I don't care.
Okay, the rules aren't
What a
that strict,
gangster.
but basically
Nigel,
you
you
just
are
have
cheating
to-
yourself.
Exactly. You have to finish everything. All you're supposed to do is at the end of the month. So it's just like 3,000 push-ups at the end of the month.
Fine. So I owe 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups, and 200 squats.
Yeah, because at the end of the month, there'll be a review by the committee over all the videos you've sent.
We'll be slowing down the time lapse, right? Just to count
Yeah.
how many reps we've been doing.
Exactly. No cheating reps. If not, there'll be
Are we
some
hiring
no
an
count.
intern for that?
Yeah, there'll be external board of.
Yeah, we need a
It's
committee.
too
for that.
difficult. It's really too difficult. All these
What's too
fucking
difficult?
challenges are killing me.
What else do you have to do?
I don't know. It's terrible.
Do
How
you
did
have
that
anywhere
fall?
to go?
No, I don't. I don't have anywhere to go.
Well, I'm actually like skipping my static today and making it up over next week. Cause
That's a
today's
good
run
idea.
was horrible. But I
Tell
did
us
it.
how is it like day to day, like what do you feel day to day? So the first 3 days you said it was fine, right?
Yeah, first 3 days were fine. And then I think on Thursday or Wednesday I did like 4 minute 40 per km pace.
Ridiculous.
So I think that was on Wednesday or Thursday. I think Thursday. And then Friday my pace became 5 minutes. Then it became 5:40 and became 6 minutes. So I'm getting more tired over the course of the week. So I'll see how tomorrow is. It's quite tiring, especially today, because today I ran a bit later, so I ran around 11ish, so the sun was almost all the way up.
Oh.
I think the heat killed me, and then it was just had to push myself mentally the most over the past week. So I'll try not to run during that time again and start doing it when the sun isn't out.
Yeah, that's the killer. I think even sometimes at 5 p.m. it's too hot to run. It depends on the weather, and I felt like my best timing was when it was just about to rain or when it was like at 7 p.m. when the sun set.
Yeah. I
So
think it really
the first-
affects.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think the first 2 days were quite challenging. Then it got easier from day 3 and 4. And 5 was my best timing. And then yesterday was just like, wow, all of a sudden it was damn hard.
Yeah, the accumulated fatigue,
Yeah.
and we're only 1 week in, so there's more.
So we need to like
Fun
pace
to do.
ourselves out more.
Amir, what was your first 3 days first 2 days distance?
I did 2.67 and 2.67 and 2.67. That's my.
Then how
that
was
that
it?
was how you divided it, right? 30, 80 divided
Like
by
right on the
30.
dot, right on the dot.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No more and no less.
2.7 or
No,
3.
2.67. No,
You don't waste that 30 meters, okay?
Yeah.
literally, right? The last 10 meters, I'll be like, is it 2.67 yet? Is it 2.67 yet? Oh, okay, I'm done. I just stop. Regardless of how tired I am or not tired I was feeling, I just stop. Okay, this is my maximum distance
Super
for
practical.
But were you tired or not after that?
the day. No.
You see, you push more.
But for me, running wasn't my main goal. It's just to hit the bare minimum and try to go harder during the static stations. And
Oh yeah, so Amirul statics involve resistance bands. You know, so stepping up a level there.
Yeah, it was too easy. Body weight is too easy for him.
yeah, it feels like doing cardio for your body. So I don't want to be losing any more gains after not lifting at all for 3 months. So
So technically,
I-
your static exercises are much harder than ours, right?
yeah, just by a
Technically lah.
little. Yeah, but
you
all
put
your
in the
distance are too much killer.
minimalist effort for running.
Yeah, it's okay. I acknowledge
Yeah,
that
okay,
I will
I
never
think-
be as fast as YJ or Vin because they are too mad.
I'm
Nigel
not
was
mad, man.
attacking
YJ's one is mad.
Have you seen any changes in your body?
I think I
think
probably
I've-
got a bit skinnier. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been losing weight, I think, ever since I started running more.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Do you
it's not
like
that
it?
Great. I don't know. Dude, I'm really so light. I don't want to lose any more weight. I just
Yeah,
need to eat
Vin
more.
has like 6 packs, like 24/7.
No, I don't.
Oh,
I'm
damn.
like, I have a layer of fat there from all the
No.
McDonald's.
That's a
From
lie.
last week's episode, is it?
Oh yeah, the day that I ran quite fast was after I ate McDonald's breakfast. So
McDonald's
Definitely
breakfast
a
gives you wings.
1,000 calories from McDonald's breakfast, right? Definitely linked to better running time. Pro tip,
I should
It's
try
why
that
keto doesn't
tomorrow.
work, guys.
definitely.
The amount of advertisement we're giving McDonald's is crazy.
That is true.
It's so Nigel. How,
Technically, we can be
you-
the new mascots.
Yeah.
McDonald mascots. The
Since
Olympics
they
are
replace
cancelled, right?
Hamburglar.
So we kind of like took over like,
This is the
McDonald-
Olympics,
yeah, this is basically the Olympics.
Guys, I think we should be doing Olympics with other podcasts and challenge them to fitness tests.
I think we'll beat
Who
them.
should we
lah.
challenge?
I mean, look at them.
I have no idea.
Push-up challenge. Amril will thank for us.
Yes, I can. Running, y'all do it.
Well, we can do a like what kind of event do they call it? Like the multi-discipline.
Pentathlon.
Yeah, something like that. A podcast battle.
We can. That's one way to put ourselves on the map.
Yes.
So which we challenge?
Pentathlon.
Pakafas.
We
1
challenge
versus 4.
For sure, we will beat Fakafas. We'll be more better than Fakafas.
We challenge the Kosh also. Take on the big ones.
I will challenge him in eating. I can win him, I think.
Don't eating is his profession.
Oh,
He's
really?
been making money from eating. He's
Do
a
not
professional
underestimate.
eater. Exactly.
He has really weird eating habits, I must say. I saw a video he did the other day where he eat milk and twisties.
What?
Yeah, legit.
Wait, what flavor twisties though?
Cheese. I think it was
Oh, that's
cheese.
fine,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, they're both milk-based products.
I guess that's fine.
That is it for our updates for our Jalat June challenge. We shall go into a discussion about Army Daze. So just to give a little backgrounder about Army Daze, it was a 1996 comedy film about 5 guys entering BMT, and it's based on a play by Michael Chiang, the very famous playwright in Singapore. His play was featured in 1987, and it stars people like Sheikh Heikel. I'm sure everyone knows. So yeah, we will go right into it. So basically, this whole segment is about looking back at iconic movies to see if they were as good as we remember it to be. So do you remember your first times watching it and coming out of either finishing it on television or coming out of the cinema and thinking, what were your first thoughts after watching it?
I can't remember the first time I watched it. When would be the first time I watched it though? If it came out in 1996,
Yeah,
I don't think I remember watching it then.
I
I'm
can't recall
sure
the first
it
time I
was
watched
on-
it also.
I'm sure it was on television during one of the national days. I'm pretty sure. Because they always like to show Singapore movies on National Day.
Yeah, I think I might have watched it in army, with with my but I can't really remember because like when I watched it again yesterday, I remember a lot of the scenes. So I definitely seen it before, but I just can't remember when I watched it exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about Army Days, the thing that most people talk about it, right? Because it was the sort of first film to really shed light on what uh, Army boys' experience is like, and it was done in such a like they didn't try to push out any national message about it. It was so like random. It was so funny. So maybe did you see any similarities in your army life, as compared to the movie?
Well, I just watched the movie like before we started talking. I didn't finish it.
Fuck
But
you,
it's
yeah,
still very
one
Fresh
job.
in your head.
Yeah, it's still fresh in my head. I watched until like the field camp, but I mean the stereotypes in the the characters in the movie, they are very like stereotypical. You kind of get to see like definitely other people in those characters, the Abeng, the Johari, the Krishna, the Kenny, yeah, the flamboyant
Kenny
guy.
Pereira, yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest, I think those characters were really funny, even though it was a bit like over the top. And I think definitely saw some similarities, although not like full like one-to-one comparison, but definitely a bit here and there over like army life. But granted that show was like written in 1986 and then made into a movie in
1987.
87. But yeah, so even though it's been like almost 20 years and more, it was still quite like the stereotypes are still quite there for like army. So yeah, I definitely saw some of my experiences in there.
I do
What
think
about
there was a lot of in my opinion there was a lot of like cringy stereotypical moments lah in it. To a point where because it reminded me a lot of like the TCS shows in the 90s, right? Like the very on the nose dialogue, very exaggerated, and people were talking, the way people talked was not how people would communicate. It was done in a caricature, done in a way that is like very over the top. But what struck me was actually like Kenny's character. I think that to have such a flamboyantly like gay character, right, in that show at 1996 or so, it was something that was quite progressive for that time, I think. Though they never really talked about his sexuality until that scene where Johari, Sheikh Heikel's character, and Kenny had an argument, right? And then they were both like, Kenny was saying like, you guys just sit around and share short-sighted views on army life, and then Sheikh Heikel's character says, "You every day you gay here, you gay there, then you ask people to do things for you." Then he walks out and everything like that. That's the only time they talked about sexuality. And throughout the whole series, right? I mean the whole film, they didn't really make a big deal out of it. It was kind of like they just accepted it as it was. So that was quite interesting. And thinking about it now, I mean like how long? 24, 25 years after that.
Yeah.
It was definitely quite progressive lah. The way they portrayed his character. Although it is very, very over the top and very flamboyant, and like, the whole like walking to the shower with all his products and like his hair, like a towel on his head and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The scene
Yeah.
where he tries on the boots also.
Yeah. I was like,
Sachets.
oh, of course.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think it was really good because for that time, it's still, I mean, for all its uh eccentricities, right? The character was played in a very positive light. Like, he emerged he seemed to emerge the fastest in the SOC course,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was, he seemed to be participating in all the exercises. So I think for its time, right, it's actually one of the most progressive characters in Singapore film history for me, lah, at least.
Mm.
Any thoughts,
Yeah.
Amirul?
I think for me it's a bit different from you guys because I didn't have the army experience per se. But and I was also along the lines of like I didn't watch the movie when it first came out. I only started watching it only recently, like 2 years back, even after my enlistment has ended, and I could still relate to them in terms of that those stereotypes. It is applicable towards the Singapore Police Force. Oh, so for me, I was enlisted into the police force, and our training duration is a bit longer instead of the normal 9 weeks, right? We had to go for me. I had to go through 6 months of police training,
Yeah.
and it's for me it's perfect to realize all those characters that were developed during the show because there is some resonance and there is some similarities like what you all have shared between my own experiences and the how characters are being portrayed.
To which
So for
character
me, I think-
exactly?
Like what you said, the flamboyant guy, the Joharis. There's always someone like that in every like what's it called, platoon or every
Every group.
cluster. Every group, yes, that's the
Every
word. not
cluster. That's so COVID. That's so circuit breaker terminology.
Yeah. Words escape me. But yeah, like what you say, it is an absolute timeless classic because even if I were to pass it on to my grandson or whatever, I think it's still very relatable to them, and maybe they'll think that, oh shit, this is what our fathers and uncles grew up watching, and this is how we were shaped, lah. I would say.
You know, I feel right. I was thinking about that, and I feel that if we show someone like a teenager now, like that grew up like in this era, and if we show a film like that to them, I think they will point out a lot of things that were quite wrong with it in terms of the stereotypical representation.
Yep.
Because I think we still grew up at a time where when we were in primary school and secondary school, a lot of the minority representation on TV was still stereotypical. So it was part of what we were used to.
Yep.
Versus the representation now has changed quite a bit. So like for example, Krishna's character when he does the whole Bollywood dancing,
Oh my god.
that is like, I think if you put it on TV nowadays, like you're gonna have a lot of people commenting on that, man. They'll be like, huh? Is that all? Is that all the Indian character is? Then Johari definitely must be musician. Must be at the end of it, he wins the what Bagos, right? The what's it called? The Najib Ali
Asia
show.
Bagus.
Asia Bagos. Yeah, and then Krishna becomes a lawyer, and then Abing sells handphones.
Yep. Yeah, I wanted to ask you all that because I mean you're Indian and Malay. What do you think of Krishna's character and Johari's character? Like for that time it seemed to be okay, but do you think that Singapore, the media industry has progressed even to today? Like you're saying that these scenes will not be allowed, but in actual fact, you do still see all these like stereotypes, right, in minority characters. Maybe not in the Bollywood scenes, maybe not in the like the opening scene where Johari greets his big ass family.
Yeah.
Wasn't that super stereotypical? Like you can't have that today, right?
I
But
like how he salamed the kids though. He was just like banging their heads on his belly.
And of course he says Jangan tension. Jangan tension, and then he goes onto the bus.
yeah, what do you think? Like what do you think of, like, can it be done tastefully? Can stereotypes be done tastefully? Can you still laugh at these scenes without having all that discussion about racist stereotypes?
I think when you watch something, right, you need to you have to understand the intent behind it also. So I don't think if you're outwardly making fun of a stereotype and you're watching it, and then as an audience you know that the filmmaker or the person behind the camera or the writing the scripts or whatever is just doing it to show how ridiculous a stereotype is, then I think there's still a lot of room for that especially in comedies, because comedies are probably the only genre of content that you can make where you can still use stereotypes nowadays, as long as you are showing that you're making fun of it, because it's all in jest and it's not taken seriously. But if you're doing it in a drama and stuff like that, right? Obviously, it's a bit there are differences lah. But I don't know. I think that I'm not entirely sure how much it was making fun of the stereotypes back then. I guess it was, but maybe not as woke as it would be now. You know, I think it might be a bit. Yeah,
I think it's also down to the writing at that time, right? Like the style of writing, and I think what was on TV during then, like Under One Roof, or like what was that police show, like Police and Thief, even though that was a bit later than that, but it was also like stereotypical. And I don't know whether it's also because of the writing, and that's how people like saw how to write comedy in these stereotypical ways.
I think that the stereotypical ways still continue. I mean, until now, I think it's a format that really sticks amongst a lot of Singaporeans, and you can see on YouTube channels, popular YouTubers, influencers, and like people really resonate with this format, at least in Singapore. So they just rather stick to something that is very tried and tested to be successful, I guess, or something that is very relatable with the majority of the audiences.
So do you think that's why? I do think that's why filmmakers like Jack Neo and stuff have become like the most successful filmmaker in Singapore, right? Because his films are full of stereotypical characters, but in a way, writing on stereotypes, the downside of that is if you are successful and you keep doing the same things, then you're kind of dumbing down the content for your audience, right? So the audience using stereotypes is a way that people that make it easier for people to relate to certain to the other to people that they may not particularly have a lot of interactions with. So they hear and they see this is like, for example, a Malay guys like this or Indian guys like this, like, oh yeah, I understand that. I know that this is what they do, right? And then see, I'm not the only one that thinks this way, kind of a thing. So that's probably why these filmmakers have become very famous. But once you reach that level, right, you gotta I think, to me, of course, if it works, it works. You keep doing it, but you have to kind of see the audience as more than just people that feed off stereotypes, right? You know, if you had like a Malay or Indian lead character in a Jack Neo film that subverted all the stereotypes, that wasn't any typical Indian or Malay profession, who just, or maybe he wanted to be an engineer or like a doctor or something. I don't know. I mean, something that we wouldn't necessarily put together with that race. I wonder how that would come across to the audience, and would a film like that still be as successful if it didn't rely on these stereotypes? That's something that I've yet to fully see with the more popular filmmakers here.
Yeah, it really brings up the conversation as to whether filmmakers have a role in society to either reflect the way people think other races are, or to subvert all of that and to give a new narrative, the real narrative. I feel like Jack Neo is lazy in the sense that he goes back to what is tried and tested, and he keeps doing the same shit, and he knows he's gonna get a laugh, and that really pisses me off lah, because like the way Army Daze did it, right? One particular scene where the rich kid, the Malcolm, his mom says in the car, "Oh, don't share your toothbrush. You don't know what these people are," something along those lines. I think I would argue that was done tastefully, because it is actually shining a light on how some Chinese parents would think. And yes, it's a stereotype, but it's actually criticizing how Chinese parents are. And it's not pouring fuel over the flames over like how we are more wary of each other. It's actually criticizing how some of these people think, and it's wrong. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
her character, there's definitely there's definitely a way to see as it being like a criticism of like the whole like Chinese mother way of speaking, or that there's that kind of image she has of other people. But also, like, okay, now I guess I'm thinking whether this is the filmmaker's intent or whichever, but it could easily also be not his intention to criticize that, but just also to highlight it and to like make it a reflection of that stereotype. And it also can be used as a stereotype to get laughs. Because for sure I could see some people like watching that and being a bit like find this weird, or they actually laugh at that because it can be so true.
It's reinforcing their beliefs, lah. Maybe.
Yeah,
If,
yeah, it could.
If you don't
And
think
like
about
there's-
it critically.
And there's also one scene, I think the mother is a very interesting character because she's kind of like what a mom wants from, ideally from like a child in NS or in the kind of people she mixes with. I think you see
From a
that
very
also,
privileged background, very
Yeah.
atas background. So yeah.
yeah, definitely. Like I remember the scene where the parents first visited them in camp, and then Ah Beng went to talk to like the mom, praising the son, like, oh, your son's very on the ball, this and that, this and that. Then the mom's like, what ball, what this, what that. Then she like walked off with like from the son, and the son went to chase after her, and then the mom was like saying that, why do they speak like that? Like, I told you to mix with intelligent people. And that's definitely like what Nigel said, like that's definitely a criticism. We can see it as a criticism, but also at that point in time, I don't know whether it was, I guess like it can be a criticism and also can be a way to just highlight that kind of behavior in a lot of that privileged behavior, which I think is important to show lah. And I hope that the filmmaker's intent was to kind of highlight that and show how that kind of that way of speaking, because it can be so normal to many privileged people, that way of speaking, and to show how over the top like those words can be. And yeah, I think I kind of saw it that way also, like why is this so over the top yet so normal at the same time for a lot of people. I think that's a very important thing for that the film did, is to show that.
Yeah. What do you think of the Johari character, Amira? Like in relation to your own self, not seeing others.
In relation to my own self, shit.
Like, so okay, why
Personally
I
for me-
asked this question? Why I asked this question was because, maybe you can share like growing up, right? Were there any particular actors or scenes or characters that you looked up to when you were growing up, and were any of them Malay? And can you comment on the Johari character as someone that you could see?
I think for me, it's a bit different because I grew up watching Malay cartoons actually, rather than following up like movie stars like your Aaron Aziz or Suhaimi Yusof and things like that. Because for me, the cartoons were always showing that kampung spirit, which I liked, which has that sense of community, and it just feels good watching it. And I'm not too sure whether you guys have heard this show called Anak Anak Sidik before.
No.
Okay, so it's a really, really big cartoon from Malaysia, and it has kind of like a cult following in Singapore. So they will publish books, TV series for it. So you have all that format. And for me, I really like watching. I forgot the characters' names, but it really breaks down into like the you have a character that is very, who portrays their really good leadership skills. That is basically a stereotype of the Malay society for the Malay people, and we kind of like really resonated and appreciated that portrayal really well. I want to draw examples, but I really can't because my head hurts when I think really much too much.
So you're saying it's a stereotype within a like it's a Malay stereotype. It's in a type of person that Malay people know, like they can relate to, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know what the flag or the how was it received in Malaysia as compared to Singapore. In Singapore, we loved it, and our parents kept buying comics and kept making me at least to watch it. So yeah.
So it was a Malaysian,
Actually, that'll be my homework. Yeah.
it was a Malaysian production.
Yeah, it was a Malaysian production, like Upin and Ipin, but
I know
for 90s
Upin
kids.
Ipin.
Yeah, I know that also.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
so
the
yeah.
famous one.
Instead of stereotypes, how about like the whole army experience? Like do you guys like see anything that kind of made you felt good about the movie? Like what made you feel good about the movie? Was it like nostalgic, or was it like you wish you were back in field camp again?
Why don't you tell us, since you spend the most
Yeah.
time in the in the field?
What did you do, YJ, back in the army?
What do I do? We're basically like infantry, like heli infantry, which we spend a lot of the time in the jungle. We spend a lot of time marching, and for me, the army experience wasn't kind of like a bad thing, which I wish never happened to me. It was something that I wouldn't say really enjoy, but it was a good way to experience something different that you'll never get to experience in the rest of your civilian life. So there was a lot of tough training, a lot of camaraderie, which I think is something that was highlighted well in the movie, like all these different backgrounds, because there's definitely a lot of people with different backgrounds in my camp at Bedok. Like you had like some camps had mostly like all Chinese, some camps had mostly like all Malay. But my camp was very like diverse, very mixed. So it's definitely a fun thing to see all this camaraderie happen. Like even in my like platoon, like the people I work with, they were like a good mix of different races, different backgrounds. So that's one of the things that I felt good watching the movie, that was something I missed about the army. And I guess it's also good that we always have like reservists, which is when you go back to camp for training and you meet these people again, and then you feel this bond, this camaraderie again. Yeah, and it was always fun. It's always fun to reflect on the dumb things you did when you were in army. Getting muddy or walking in the rain, things like that. So I guess that movie, that drew me more in the movie, the shared experience I had with the characters. Yeah, what about you guys?
Well, the first thing I realized while watching the movie is that I was also from H Company, also Platoon 4, also Section 1. But it's
I was in
called-
hotel
you
company
identify?
also.
this was BMT. I was in Hawk Koi, so which is, I mean, last time was hotel, right? The thing about you talked about in your unit was quite diverse. In my BMT platoon, right, there were only 2 non-Chinese guys, me and another guy.
Wow.
So yeah,
Out of how many?
out of how many people in the platoon are, like 50 40?
You should know you're a sergeant, right?
BMT, I forgot already.
BMT is like
It's a lot
11,
more.
12.
I think it's like 15 per section, right?
12. Oh yeah, maybe 15 per section.
So it's like 60
Roughly.
people a platoon.
Yeah, so it was oh yeah, and then I was when I went to SCS, the Specialist Cadet School, I was the only non-Chinese guy in my whole platoon.
Shit.
And guess what? Who was the first platoon IC?
You.
Like the one that stood out the most lah. But that being said, okay, so I had that's the thing that similar to YJ, right? What drew me to think about my own experience was the fact that, you know, we all didn't know anyone. We didn't know each other. We all wouldn't probably hang out together if we had a choice, like if we just randomly met up with each other. But through going through the field camps, to all the tough training, when it was raining, doing our outfield for 5 days, and we were like sleeping in our shell scrapes with our legs floating in the water, and you know, like it's just you and your buddy, and my buddy always eats, so I had to be paired up with 2 other guys, and
Don't
so
forget your
it was
rifle.
and I was carrying the Matador, I think, so I had to like strap that to like my belt, and I put it under my body. Yeah, I mean, you have all these experiences that you can talk to people about, because it's like, you know, when you all go through the same struggles together and then you come out of it closer. It's just how people work, right? You know, if you see someone at their lowest and, you know, you just push each other through it, and you realize that everyone's going through the same thing as you are, then you just naturally become closer.
Hope you enjoyed the first part of the episode. In part 2, we'll be delving deeper into racial stereotypes we experienced during our time in army and how it has affected our lives. We also touch on the Black Lives Matter movement and how it applies to Singaporeans. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred podcast app. We can be found on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Puckish Podcast, Puckish.